I talk about a lot of famous transit projects on this channel. You know, iconic projects that get covered in various news outlets, they get talked about on social media. They're often a really big deal. But today I want to talk about a massive transit project that most people haven't heard about. This huge project transformed Toronto forever a couple years back and will change access to Western Toronto for the foreseeable future. The Georgetown South project. Let's get into it. If you're curious where this project sort of operates, the kind of corridor is between the western end of the Union Station rail corridor, being the combined tracks that run west of Union Station in downtown Toronto. The end point is somewhere around where the Up Express splits off to Pearson Airport. Over $1 billion was put into this corridor alone a couple years ago and included a massive number of smaller projects which changed the corridor from a one-track line with a few minor stations into a high-capacity rail corridor that would be at home in Europe or Asia. Let's talk about these projects. Things start just west of the Union Station rail corridor at the Strachan Avenue grade separation. This grade separation is the widest on the entire project. It's capable of eventually holding 8 tracks, and it takes the GO corridor under Strachan Avenue, as the name suggests. The grade separation is really iconic with the kind of crosshatch supports, which I think look quite nice. And because it provides 8 tracks, in the future there will be 2 tracks for Milton, 2 tracks for Barrie, 2 tracks for Kitchener, 2 tracks for the Up Express, and Via will fit in to those 8 tracks somewhere. 8 tracks is a lot of capacity, okay? Continuing north up the corridor, just past where the Barrie line splits off, that'll eventually be transformed into a 2-track split, we have the upgraded Bloor station. Now, we covered it in our station focus video up here, but suffice to say, the station is beautiful. It's world class. The station currently features 3 platforms and 4 tracks. Those 3 platforms and their respective tracks serve the Kitchener line and the Up Express, and the other track without a platform serves the Milton line. The station is nice for a number of reasons, but I think the feature I appreciate most is the nice access off of Bloor Street. The station has quite a presence, and you kind of enter and go up a set of stairs and then you're at the platform level. It's really nice. Now after Bloor Station, the tracks continue up north to the CP main line. The Milton line splits off and travels on the CP main line into Mississauga and further west to Milton, while the rest of the tracks go into a quad-track trench under the CP main line. Now, this is a really exciting project because it separated this incredibly important rail junction, the West Toronto Diamond, and allowed for a lot more Kitchener/Up Express service in the future. If you're a little confused about diamonds and CP mainline, that's okay. There's also the Davenport Diamond, which is actually just slightly to the east. The reason this exists is because, as I mentioned before, the Barrie line actually splits off the Georgetown South Corridor. This diamond still exists between the double-track CP mainline and the Barrie line. But, as you probably know, there's a major project going on called the Davenport Diamond grade separation, which will actually create a viaduct and take the Barrie line over the CP mainline, which is quite interesting. We'll be out there to cover it in the future, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss a video about that. Now continuing north, I want to pause at the bridge over Black Creek Drive. Now at first, this bridge is quite unassuming, and I'd forgive you if you didn't notice anything. It wasn't until recently that someone pointed out something about this bridge to me, which I think is worth sharing with you. There's a small little detail about it. The piers for the bridge are slightly wider than is necessary for the tracks. Why is this? Well, you can actually see the footings, and this is where catenary poles will be installed in the future. It's really exciting to see stuff like this built into the corridor, and the entire thing was planned so that future electrification would be easy. This is a theme you see on the Georgetown South Corridor as a whole. There's room for lots of tracks, room for catenary in the future, room for more platforms at the stations. Everything was planned with room for expansion, and I like to see that. It's also worth noting, and you'll notice if you're in this area riding a train, that there are a lot of new sound barriers. I know some people criticize the need for sound barriers, but at the end of the day, this corridor will be operating a lot of diesel service for the foreseeable future, and if those sound barriers mean that the community is more willing to accept the expansion of the corridor, it's probably worth it. I don't know. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. A short jog north and we're at the Eglinton OMSF, where room was left for a new station called Mount Dennis. We next come to Weston Station, which is abutted to the south by a new road under rail grade separation at Denison Road. Weston Station shares many of the same features as Bloor, and we talk about it in detail in our station focus video up here. It's worth noting that up to this point, CP has actually had a track in the same corridor as all of the passenger rail lines up to the north. This is quite interesting because when you're sitting at Weston Station, you sometimes see freight trains passing by, which I think is pretty cool. Now the CP line still has some grade crossings, albeit most of the crossings have been removed, and I think that's okay. This is sort of the approach that's talked about in the Toronto Regional Board of Trade report that we talked about last week. Instead of grade separating every crossing, the logical ones have been grade separated, and the CP freight trains simply go around the non-grade separated crossings. Just past Weston Station to the north is a tunnel, which is a very unique feature on the GO network. Not many exist, and inside Toronto, I don't think any exist besides this one. The tunnel was used to take the GO corridor under several streets in one fell swoop, which I think is an interesting feature, and of course, it's ready for electrification in the future. Now, the last major corridor upgrade for the project was the widened Humber River Bridge. It was previously a single track bridge, but now it's a quad track, and it's incredibly impressive to look at from the golf course below. There's also great views when you're riding an Up Express or Kitchener service over the bridge. Now, worth mentioning is the final feature of the Georgetown South project, or to be fair, a feature that happened adjacent to it. The Up Express Viaduct. This viaduct connects to the corridor just north of Etobicoke North Station, which was refreshed when the corridor was rebuilt into a sort of nice but minimal station. The viaduct takes Up Express trains from the corridor to a station directly adjacent to Pearson Terminal 1. The viaduct is nice, I suppose, but I think the most interesting feature of it for me is that, like those bridges I mentioned earlier, it has footings already pre-installed for eventual catenary poles for electrifying the Up Express, which I think is very exciting. Now, if you're wondering about various other projects, that's because this isn't just a story about a major transit project that happened in the past, but it's a story of so many transit projects happening today. The Georgetown South Corridor is arguably going through another transformational change, and I just want to mention some of those projects before ending out the video. First of all, tracks are being fitted out in all the places where room was previously afforded but tracks weren't placed. So the Strachan Avenue grade separation is having more tracks installed, the Barrie line is getting double tracked, Bloor and Weston Station are having new platforms added, so Bloor Station will have 2 islands, and Weston Station will have an island and 2 side platforms. There's obviously also the massive work going on at Mount Dennis Station for the Eglinton Crosstown. This is going to add a 3rd major station on the Up Express route, and unlike the station at Bloor, which is having a tunnel installed finally after years of waiting, the station at Mount Dennis should integrate the Up Express and Toronto Line 5 really well from day one. Now, of course, further north, we've covered the 401-409 tunnel project extensively. At the end of the original Georgetown South project upgrade, there was just the original 3-track tunnel. But as you know, that's being converted to 4 total tracks, 2 in the original tunnel and 2 in 2 new tunnels placed under the highways. Along with that, we'll also see Etobicoke North removed, but since it's a minor station, that's not a huge deal. Along with that removal, we'll also see the addition of Woodbine Station at the Woodbine racetrack. This is going to be a much more substantial station, much like Bloor, Mount Dennis, and Weston. This station could be an eventual connection point with Line 6 Finch West. Suffice to say, this whole corridor is a very interesting place. There's lots of room left for expansion, and there's lots of work still going on to this day. It's honestly one of the Toronto transit projects I'm happiest about. I don't have all that many criticisms. Anyways, I hope you learned something today, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.